Hello everybody, welcome back to another stream. One second, I don't think there we go, we have some game music. Everyone's happy. Except me. I'm so alone. I am just waiting for the indisputable David T. Lurker to plug in his microphone, then we will be good to go. Again, hopefully, touch wood, my internet will not shit the bed like it did last week, and we'll be able to finish the conversation. That nobody I'm here to find out what's going to finish first, my phone battery or my work. Hopefully they both die at the exact same moment. Just the way Jesus intended. So, just before David gets here, should I continue doing Amy and Sonic 1, or should I do something else? Judenator, that came from the Shadowput clan. All of the demo tracks. So some of the demo tracks, I think, are just exactly the same. But the Glyphic Canyon prototype sounds like something from the first Spider-Man PlayStation 1 game. It's really good like that. Well, by something else, I mean something else in Origins. Oh shit, I didn't even do that. No! Go back to the Sonic, let's do party. Yes, it does, yes. Yes, it does, yes. Unfortunately, there is no Mighty the Armadillo in this game. There should have been. Sega, you fucked up again. I have a hard cut off at 8:30, so in about 1 hour and 50 minutes. So as soon as David gets here, I shall start playing the game. How's everyone doing today? I've tried doing the boss rushes. The boss rush on Sonic 3, the Carnival Night Zone. The Carnival Night Zone boss is kind of hard. We haven't got any rings. I'm so used to just being able to barrel through that in 4 seconds with rings. We ain't got no rings. That thing's surprisingly annoying. Play a lot of Rayman Redemption. What's Rayman? Oh, is Rayman Redemption the fan mod for the first game? Yeah, I had Rayman 1 on the PlayStation. Hard as fool. I never got too far in it. It's fucking hard. So if that's good, like if that fixes a lot of the dickens. From what I read somewhere that Rayman 1 was never play tested. Because I guess they were rushed and they just like, oh yeah, this works, rush out the door. If that's true, that would explain a lot. So so if Rayman Redemption is a good thing, maybe I'll download it. Maybe I'll get it. Maybe I'll get it at some point. Same with the what's that new Sonic Mega Mix Mania fan hack that just came out? I've heard pretty good things about that. I'm just gonna call David. So as soon as he picks up, we can begin. You should hear his voice hopefully. So, oh, is he there?
What?
Hello.
Am I here? Not here.
I can hear you though. You're somewhere.
No, we see what I am is I am a.
Are you all of you?
I am all of me, all of we, all of we. Hold on. On Twitch it says I need to watch non-stop Roblox action to earn exclusive rewards. You're not playing Roblox, so how am I supposed to earn these exclusive rewards?
I don't know. But how are you today, good sir?
I'm doing good. Let's see. I want to opt out of targeted advertising. I don't know why it's asking me that right now. I was on Twitch last week. Looking at you.
Look at me, alright. People in the chat, how is everything balanced? I know my mic sucks. I'll work on that when I can. But how is me, David, and the game balanced?
Wow.
Just while we wait, David, I assume you guys are gonna cover it on Sonic Weekly, but you know, I'm gonna get the scoop, and I'm gonna ask you first your thoughts on Tango and Whisper's official voices.
Oh, I haven't listened to the episode yet.
Oh, David, you disappoint me. I thought that was the first thing you would have done today. As soon as it was out.
I know I haven't listened to it yet. What have I done so far today? I don't know. Let's see. Woke up, put myself together, went into the kitchen. I did some dishes. We ate, sat down. We didn't. I haven't listened to it yet. How? I guess I could listen just to the voice real quick. Let's see.
Good. To me, they sound exactly like they did it in my head. Like Tango, to me, purposely sounds the right mixture of energetic and annoying. Like it's her voice is perfect.
I see. Let's see. Full credits. Okay, I don't have to look at full credits right now. Okay, so where in the episode
they appear like a few minutes in. I would like maybe skip ahead like 5 minutes, and then they should be there.
Do they both talk?
Yeah.
Oh, Kitsch. I'm just skimming. Right. Okay, so Tangle speaks first. Gonna click it. I'm gonna hear her voice live. Let me click.
We got the exclusive here, folks. The RealFTA stream exclusive. David the Lurker listens to Tango speak for the first time.
Yeah. Let's see. Ah, there she is. Uh-huh.
David's reaction to Tango's voice. That's all he's gonna say. That's all he's gonna say. But yep, that's a voice, all right.
That is a voice, all right. All right, and Whisper's whispering. Does she whisper the whole time?
Yeah, that's her gimmick, man. You know that.
Yeah, look, but although, wasn't that her name before she was whispering all the time?
I assume so. Yeah, I think it was. Although maybe that was just ironic, or maybe it's like Scar in the Lion King. He was called Scar before he got a big scar on his face. It's had to happen.
Oh, doesn't Scar technically have a real name though?
Not in the original. Not in the original. I know in that Mufasa prequel, I think they give him an actual name. But if you just watch the Lion King, he's just called Scar. They don't explain anything.
Right. Well, I know in the original Lion King they don't, but before the live action remakes, I know there was a lot of like expanded lore, expanded material.
I think there is like a comic book or a story that does go into their backstory, but just taking the movie at face value, he's just always been called Scar.
Okay. David, have you played Rayman 1? You know, I haven't. I've only played a bit of Rayman 2. I could play Rayman 1. I should. I think I have it on the Sega Saturn. I have it on the... Don't I have it on the Saturn? I think I have it on the Saturn.
My only experience with Rayman, I played the demo of Rayman 2, and then of course we did the FTCR LP where we didn't even watch the game footage. And just talk bullshit for 6 hours.
Yes. Let's see. Right. I do technically have... I use a website to keep track of what video games I own, but also I was like... Cool. Yeah, but I don't really buy a bunch of video games. There was a point where I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna buy a lot of games. But I just can't be bothered to buy a lot of new games, right?
Yeah, I have so many games I own that I haven't finished yet. So yeah, I want to complete those.
I mean,
stories.
also, right? I also because like I don't keep track of games like, oh, I bought something on Steam. I don't catalog that on this website because this is for physical video games. So really, it's just, you know, that's what it's supposed to be.
The important ones, the ones you actually care about.
Right. Although, to be honest, I don't have physical copies of like Frontiers. I don't have a physical copy of Frontiers. I played it on my computer.
Same, yeah, a lot of the recent Sonic games, because I get sucked into those fucking digital deluxe versions to get to play it early. So yeah, I don't have a physical version of Frontiers or Superstars. I need to at some point when they're good. Sonic games tend to get cheap, so like at some point I'll just pick up a physical copy of them. So David, so you've now listened to them both. So then, what are your thoughts on Tango and Whisper's voices?
Well, for the 2 seconds that I heard them, I mean, I guess they sound like Tangle and Whisper, don't they? There's not. I mean, they. What else are they supposed to sound like? I don't know.
So again, do they sound somewhat like the voice you had in your head when you read the IDW?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, you know, IDW is a comic.
So I like them both. My thing is, I really like both their voices. Whisper sounds like Whisper to me, but in my head she was maybe just had a slightly deeper voice. But like aside from that, I think they both sound perfect.
Okay. Do they kiss each other in the show?
They should do. Because they now have official voices, and they're about to be added to Crossroads this month. Do you think that they will have spoken lines in Crossroads?
I mean, the fact that they hired voice actors for this, it feels like they might.
So again, I do understand the Sega, like, you know, Sega characters and the guest ones. It's a bit of a shame, but from what I understand, characters like AA and like the Minecraft characters don't speak anyway, so I understand the issues there. But I think it would be weird if Tango and Whisper don't speak.
Yeah, it would be weird, but I guess, isn't it? It's also kind of weird that SpongeBob is a silent man.
Well, Beckett, that's because, and again, you know, like, I love me some Sega, but they are notoriously cheap assholes when it comes to paying voice actors, and Tom Kenny is going to demand a pretty penny. So it sucks, but I somewhat understand why, like, especially SpongeBob doesn't speak.
Why do you always spring up there? You've done that both streams.
Because, I don't know, because I'm like, if I don't go this way now, I'll get left out forever. Is the other way faster?
Yeah, because you skip all this.
Oh, then why not? You would think the route that is faster would be the one that you have to speed. You have to actually, you know, put effort in to get there. This is
no, because you're going so.
This is bad level design. How can this be your favorite Sonic game, David? This is bad level design.
That is not bad level design. The spring is there because if you're not fast enough before that blocks your way, then you're like, oh, I guess I have to go around.
You know what? I take it back. I rescind my snarky comment. That makes complete sense.
Yeah. It's just like, yeah. So usually when I play this game and I'm not like going super fast, I will, or like I'm not like speedrunning myself. I will get to that point, I'll hit the spring, get all the rings, but then fall immediately back down the hole and keep on going. Because I'm so fast, the wall doesn't get blocked. Just hitting the spring once to get the rings. So you gotta... Oh, I can't believe Amy died. Amy, right, it's not canonical. She's not allowed, like... She's not here. I don't think Sonic's met her yet.
No, he doesn't meet her until CD, which this game proves takes place immediately after Sonic 1. the only logical place for it.
Yeah, it takes place. It has always taken place between Sonic 1 and 2, and anyone who was like,
Same.
no,
Again, like I never apparently even Ian Flynn was it takes place after 3 and K. I'm like, no, Ian Flynn, no, it doesn't. That makes no sense.
Right, Ian did push. Ian pushed the post 3 narrative, and Sega told him no.
No. Only because like I get that, you know, obviously it makes the most sense because I forget that did CD technically come out before or after 2? It came out before 2, didn't it?
Well, CD came out after 2, but before 3.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
when it came out, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Right.
But for me, it's just like to take place after 3 and K, and I know this is us saying this with the hindsight of history, but no Tails and a shitty Spin Dash, those two things, I mean, it doesn't make sense for it to take place after 3 and K for me.
Right. It's I feel like anyone who says OCD must take place after 3, the sticking point is Metal Sonic.
Yes.
It's always Metal Sonic looks cooler than Mecha Sonic. But then, I mean, we are talking about aesthetics, we are talking about personal preference. Because when it does come to like, oh, well, Metal Sonic is clearly the more technologically advanced, I guess in some ways, yes. But also in some ways, how do you know? Because like in these early games, like if we just look at the classic Sonic games, you have Mecha Sonic and Metal Sonic, and who do you actually fight? You only fight Mecha Sonic, you know,
and
Marks 1 and
Sonic.
2. That's his name, Mecha Sonic.
No, I mean the one from Sonic 2.
Yeah, that's his name, Mecha Sonic.
Well, no, see, that's... It's weird because Lego Dimensions calls him Robo Sonic, and then the one from Sonic 3 is Mecha Sonic, and I much prefer that naming. I dislike the one from Sonic 2 being called Mecha Sonic. I don't like it.
Right, even though the only time they call him Robo Sonic is in Lego Dimensions.
But, I mean,
because even in merchandise, like if you buy the action figure, what does it say?
Mecha. Yeah, the action figure says Mecha. But I always, as a kid, me and my brother always called him Silver Sonic because his color is silver. And again, I think that's a better name than because I don't even like the name Robo Sonic. The name Robo Sonic is a dumb name. So I much prefer in my head, Cat, he's Super Sonic. I don't care what you say, Sega. I'm calling him Super Sonic to the day I die.
I guess I'm a little surprised that you are like, oh yeah, no, he's definitely Silver Sonic.
Because the one from Sonic 2 on the Game Gear, that one is canonically Silver. But again, me and my brother called him Silver Sonic before playing the one on the Master System, and also before before any of these things had official. That because I don't believe he's named in the instruction manual. Is he for Sonic 2?
No, he's not in the manual at all. He's not in the Japanese or American one for Sonic 2, the robot version of Sonic. But I mean, like, he's called Mecha Sonic for a very specific reason. And why is, because what does he look like?
He looks like Mecha Godzilla.
Yeah, so that's his name. His name is Mecha Sonic because he is just Mecha Godzilla.
But
so the fact that these... Oh, I was going to say, so if anything, you should be arguing that the Mecha Sonic from Sonic 3 and Knuckles should be called something else.
So then, what is that one's official name now?
Now, I think he's just Mecha Sonic Mark II. Like, that's what they call him.
Oh,
it's just Mark 1 and Mark 2. That's the differentiating... which makes sense, and I think... I forget if it's in the encyclopedia or if it's just been, like, casually thrown out in a Bumblecast or something, but... the one from Sonic Adventure that's in a tube and it never does anything. I think that's Mark III. Like they've officially said, oh yeah, that's the third one. Never used anywhere. He's just in a tube. I wish he was somewhere. I mean, I know as a kid, Sonic Adventure, I really was expecting him to pop out of that tube. Both of them
to do
for
something. It is weird how, in relation to the Dreamcast version, they made a whole Metal Sonic model for presumably a 4-second flashback in Amy's story as they were stuck in the tube. It is weird to me. It is very weird that they went to the hassle of making that. Because I mean, I think, if I remember correctly, the unlocking Metal Sonic skin that was just in the DX port, correct?
Yeah, the DX port has, but that's not even the same model as the one in the tube.
It's a different model.
Right.
It's like this.
It's a different model. Which bothered me. I'm like, why aren't we just? You have a model already. It's in there. Why?
Well, I mean, I guess only because they changed all the other models, they felt they should update Metal Sonic's model. Which is like,
yeah, but isn't the original model still floating in the tube? Like, they didn't replace the tube model.
That I'm not 100% sure on. I would imagine. Yeah, I would imagine they. Yeah, it is. Probably,
I'm pretty sure
it is probably the same one.
Yeah.
Which is again, like Sega's gonna Sega. They do all kinds of crazy shit that no one understands.
It is a strange.
Well, isn't it? It might have even been on Sonic Weekly, where wasn't it a thing where like for DX wasn't that meant to be a much bigger thing, and then they got a bunch of time like crunch, and then they had to like skip because again it might have even been you in that, and when they were talking about it in that podcast where like Emerald Coast has very detailed like new like lighting and shading and stuff that none of the other levels do. So it seems like they were planning to do much more with DX, and then there was like, nah, fuck it, just shove out the door.
Yeah, we don't have time. We'll put in some missions, and one of them will have a billboard advertising Sonic X,
Yeah.
which I guess will still be airing by the time this game comes out. And it did.
Chris Thorndyke is now game canon. Thanks, Sega.
Well, I mean, of all the characters, I feel like Sega might be the most comfortable bringing in Chris as opposed to anyone. I mean, definitely anyone from the Deke cartoons. I feel like.
Well,
I
remember. Speaking of Bubblecast, I think at one point, I think Ian mentioned something how like Sega doesn't like to reference X at all anymore.
Right.
So, even though apparently. And anytime they've recently referenced Vector kind of being in love with Vanilla, which came from X, I guess Ian was like, apparently that was Sega's idea to bring that back, and he was like, that's kind of weird because every other time I've tried to sneak something in from X, you've been like, no, that cartoon's dead, let it stay buried.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand Sega's relationship with just like. I don't understand Sega's relationship with Sonic sometimes, you know, like. But
seemingly, like they don't retain the rights to so much of their licensed material, which is because that's been the thing apparently with the OVA. There's some kind of weird legal rights issue between Sega and like two other companies, and then you get into stuff with like all the stuff now with the Archie Cat, which we'll get back to Ken Penders. That's something that
Ken Penders.
We'll definitely get back to Ken Penders at some point. But that's the thing with like. Apparently, there's rights issues with Fleetway and all of the old cartoons, and it's like,
right. Well,
Sega, why are you so bad at licensing your own material for?
You're gonna drown. Oh, you didn't drown.
I didn't.
I would like the only things that I think the only things that Sega doesn't outright own when it comes to the auxiliary material is the stuff from Archie and Fleetway, like the even though they don't, I think Wild Brain, I think it's the company, right, that owns the Deke stuff at this point.
I think
yeah,
are they not Cookie Jar anymore, or are they now Wild Brain? Because they've changed hands so many times.
Right. The Wild Brain is the company that bought whatever that Deke was once upon a time. Like Wild Brain owns all of that. So that's why.
So Deke is now officially dead. That company no longer.
Yes.
Okay.
Deke has been dead. I mean, with Cookie Jar, I think Deke was dead when that happened.
Oh shit!
Yeah, which is unfortunate. I feel like whenever any animation studio dies, like goes out of business or is bought by somebody else, like something is lost.
Well, it's new because even within the Dig stuff, Discotheque Media has said that there's even though they were able to put adventures on, look at that, perfect. Even though Dig were able to put adventures on Blu-ray, there's some kind of weird rights issues with SatM and Underground, which they.
Well,
they
I think
can't
it's
get out.
because I think some other company has the rights because you can. They are on DVD. I think there's just some other company that has those rights tied up for home release.
Which they should give them up because all those releases they keep putting out are terrible. Not like honestly, it's like I would probably buy SatM again, and I would buy Underground because I'm a completionist freak and I want to have it on Blu-ray. But I'm like those current SatM and Underground sets, from what I understand, are just terrible.
Yeah, I mean that's what I've. Right, because I still have the DVD set that came out. Yeah,
I still have the Shout Factory ones, which are great sets.
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate the Shout Factory lost the license to release those, because then that also means like all the special features that were made for those sets are kind of in limbo, aren't they? Like Shout Factory must own like the interviews with Ben Hurst and Jaleel White and Milton Knight, like those things.
I know it might have been in England, but I know there was a different DVD set that did license those special features from Shout Factory. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that was during the point where Shout still had the license for those. But I would imagine, because Shout would own those, especially the raw footage of those interviews. Shout would still own those. So I'm sure if someone wanted to, they could probably license those out. Because it's like, I love the SatM set is one of my favorite DVD box sets ever, because it's there was so much effort and like special features put into that for what was essentially a cult kids show from the 90s. You know, like they put so much effort into that set. Even, and again, comes back to Penders, hiring Penders to draw the front cover for that set.
That's right. His art is on the cover. Ken Penders, he did it. It's his. He drew it. He worked on SatAM.
I remember.
I don't know.
I used to go on the Shout Factory forums back then, because I was a really big fan of that company and everything they put out. I remember there was some fan went on like this big rant about like, why would you hire Penders after he personally fucked over Ben Hurst and all this stuff. And the DVD producer, a guy named Brian Ward, which is like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I just know he was associated with Sonic, so we hired him. Like I didn't know anything you're talking about, but sorry if that upsets you, I guess. Which, to be fair to Brian Ward, you can't expect him to know. And I'm sure during the interview with Ben Hurst, he didn't bring up Ken Penders at all. So it would be very weird unless he was on the forums for anyone at Shout Factory to know about all the baggage that Penders has.
Yeah, I mean, but even like back then, I don't think Penders had the same amount of baggage, because that was, Archie was still going. And Ken hadn't filed his copyright, like the copyrights. Like none of that stuff had happened.
Yeah, so because it was that second man, what, like 2007, 2008? Was Ian on the book by then?
Yeah, I think Ken drew that after Ian had started on the book.
Okay.
It is yeah, and I don't know. I mean, when it comes to the Ken Penders Ben Hurst thing, I know I've said it before, but I do feel like there's a bit more to that story. Like, we have Ben Hurst's side and we have Ken Penders' side essentially. So, but I do feel like
I'm sorry, but just because again I've I've been wanting to get back into the Pender stuff. Could you please quickly give a brief overview of what the Pender's Ben-Hurst drama is, just for anyone in the chat who may not know?
Right. Okay. So once upon a time, Ben-Hurst worked on Sonic the Hedgehog. He made 2 seasons of a show, and he was very excited. Also, he died in the game.
He also wrote an Underground, funnily enough. He also wrote episodes of Underground.
Well, yeah. I mean, what happened was right. So Ben-Hurst was just one of many writers on season 1, but Len Jensen, the showrunner of Sat AM, I guess really liked what him and his writing partner Pat Ali did, and was like, oh yeah, and invited them, like, okay, season 2, I just want you two to be the writers on it, like, and so season 2 was purely a Ben-Hurst, Pat Ali joint. Not purely,
because I want to say there are. I want to say.
Okay, well, there's a couple episodes that are also written by Len, and they're about Antoine. But
I know for a fact that the Antoine episode. I know Ben didn't write any of the Antoine episodes.
No, but they didn't hire anyone random. Like, that is just like when you look at the credits, then it's just the showrunner. It's Len. So it is. So Len hired Ben and Pat to work on season 2 exclusively. The network dictated Antoine episodes, interrupted their original plan.
Why? I forget. Like, I know. I read why in the past, but I forget why did they dictate the Antoine episodes?
They wanted some funny thing. They were like, Antoine's funny, and we want like some comedy episodes. I guess they were worried that maybe it was too that it might just be a bit too dark or a bit too actiony.
It's weird because I've recently rewatched I hadn't watched the whole thing in years. I rewatched the entire show a few months ago, and season 1 is so much darker, like color palette wise and tone wise. Season 1 is so much darker than season 2. Like, even about the Antoine episodes, season 2 is noticeably like goofier than season 1 is.
Yeah, it is.
I'm not
right.
Saying, I'm not saying that as a bad thing. It's just like it is just lighter in tone than season 1 is.
Yeah, no, there's definitely some episodes in season 1 that get super that feel dark. Even though Sat AM never gets as dark as some people like to pretend it does, you know.
Yeah. I will say one of my favorite and possibly the darkest moment in Sat AM, it comes from, I think, episode 4 of season 1, Sonic and the Secret Scrolls, where at the end, Robotnik has like their ship is losing power, but like he has a clear shot at Sonic. And Stiffly goes like, "Sir, we have to leave." Otherwise, like, we'll crash and die. And like Jim Cummins just gives this great like, "Goodbye, Hedgehog." And he tries to like kill someone. Like that's fucking dark for a kid show. The main villain is willing to kill himself to kill the hero. I really like that moment.
Yeah. He can get really dark. Jim Cummings does a good Robotnik.
And I will say, because Eggman himself gets lighter in tone in season, which is weird because they removed his chicken. He doesn't have Cluck in season 2, but even about no Cluck, Eggman is still a lot less dark than he was in season 1.
Yeah, no, he is. But you gotta miss Cluck. You gotta wonder what happened to Cluck. That's a missing episode, right? Like there should be an episode. Did Sonic finally destroy Cluck? And
I would say Sniffly was, because the pilot sets up that Sniffly hates that chicken. So I'm gonna say Sniffly killed it.
He does. He might have. Maybe Sniffly did it and tried to blame Sonic.
I'm sorry, man. So Pender's Ben-Hurst worked a lot on Saturday.
Right. So Ben-Hurst worked on it, right, and right. So when they were gearing up to do season 3, they find out the show was canceled. Which, I mean, it's a presumably a combination of many things. Ben-Hurst was like, "Oh, it's because we got." Yes, Ben-Hurst always said it was because of ratings. It was because of the Power Rangers. We were up against Power Rangers, the biggest cultural force of 1993 and 4. But It seems like
and I learned from Sonic Weekly that may not be the case.
Right, because there were recently some because once upon a time, like the reason is way back, somebody said, oh, Sega and Deke, like the reason the show got canceled is because Deke started selling animation cells of Sonic, and that's why the show got canceled. And then somebody asked Ben Hurst, and we're talking like, this is still the mid 90s, and Ben Hurst is like, no, that's not the reason why. It was because of ratings and because of studio head change or network changes, network head changes, and also he also blamed football. He was like, a lot of times Sonic would be preempted for football on the West Coast.
Dad, you Super Bowl.
Right. So there is a post on Usenet that was like, oh no, this is what I heard. Like Sega was getting ready to sue them. And that had been forgotten until a couple years ago when a document was unearthed of like an early draft of a legal document of like, oh, Sega was preparing to sue Deke for selling those cells without their permission, and we're like, oh, and because of this, like, we won't let you continue to use the Sonic license. Like, you are in breach of contract. You can't make more Sonic. Now, so the reason nobody ever knew about it is because it never went to court. Like, lawyers talked to lawyers, company threatened company, and it was settled before it even reached that point, which is also presumably why the holiday special was made, and then eventually Sonic Underground. They resolved their differences, and Deke was able to continue to use the Sonic license, but at that point, it was too late. So I'm sure that certain things like ratings mattered, and that like maybe who was in charge of Saturday morning on ABC was no longer interested.
Well, again, that's what.
But I bet
in the Shout Factory DVD interview, he cites Power Rangers, and they knew, like the new person in charge of ABC, just, in his words, just wanted a clean slate of programming.
Right. I mean that is what he said. Although like, not every single show that was on the next year was brand new. Yeah. It did make me resent the Dumb and Dumber cartoon. I never watched it because in my mind it
was that Deke. Did Deke make that show?
No, but it was on Saturday. It was on an ABC.
Oh, it was ABC, guys. Yeah, that's fucking weird, man. Why don't you make a Dumb and Dumber cartoon?
I mean, Jim Carrey was. There was a Dumb and Dumber cartoon.
Ace Ventura and The Mask. But at least Ace Ventura and The Mask crossed over. Where was the Dumb and Dumber crossover with Ace Ventura and The Mask?
Right. But also, like, Dumb and Dumber isn't a kids movie, and Ace Ventura kind of isn't a kids movie. The first movie involves so much murder and like. He's horny. He's so horny in that movie.
And there's so many, in this day and age, uncomfortable trans jokes in that first movie. So yeah, that one really isn't. I mean, you could make the case that The Mask is also super horny in his movie, but at least
right.
that one has so much cartoon violence that one makes more like. Of those three movies, of course, The Mask would have a Saturday morning cartoon show. That makes complete sense.
Right. Yeah, the Mask is horny in the way that, the little red... Yeah, the Tex Avery horny. It's Tex Avery horny. But,
so it's safe for kids to watch.
Right. Even though the source material of the Mask is the least kids-friendly of the three. God.
And also, I'm going to say this, the original Mask comic book is terrible. It's a great premise, but I do not think the original Mask comic is good at all. I don't. It's too nihilistic. It's too dark. It doesn't. I just don't care for the Mask comic book whatsoever.
How much of it did you read?
Oh, I downloaded. I perfectly legally downloaded all of it because there's only because the Mask wasn't an ongoing series. It was a bunch of mini-series, and I've read most of them. And in fact, I want to say. If anyone who watched the cartoon show, the character Water, like the giant like zombie character, he comes from the comic book.
Yeah.
In retrospect, I always thought that was weird that they put him into the cartoon.
Fall down the hole. You did fall down. Okay. Fell down the hole. Yes. That guy. Right, because in the comic book, you find out he can't use the mask.
Yeah.
He tries to put the mask on and it doesn't work. I guess because his head is too big.
Same in the cartoon. That actually happens in the cartoon.
That is in the cartoon? Okay. Yeah. It's, I read... Why did you fall down? I read some of it. I think I read most of it. I also downloaded it from some in a perfectly legal fashion.
I'll say the best comic book that featured the mask. There was a Mask Joker crossover where the Joker gets the mask, and I think that is that is in canon with the Mask comic book because I'm going to die. Because spoiler alert: every miniseries, there's a new owner of the mask. Stanley Ipkiss is murdered at the end of the first miniseries, and the Mask Joker crossover ends with Batman going to Ed City, digging up the grave of Stanley Ipkiss and throwing the mask in his coffin.
Right.
I also remember as a kid, I was in a bookstore and I saw one of the Mask trade papers. I think it was the Mask Strikes Back, which is like the second or third one. And the violence in that as a kid made me shit. Like, it scared me. I remember just having this uncomfortable feeling after, like, no, this isn't the funny Mask from the cartoon. Watch, I don't care for this at all.
Right. It is not a kid's comic. It's not for kids. It's a very. I mean, you're right. It is very nihilistic. It is basically everything is bad and the city is bad and all the people in it are bad and actually everything is always bad. And that even the people who think they're good and try to use the mask for good are just going to be bad. Yeah, I don't know. But okay, so I mean Ben Hurst, because they didn't make season 3, and I mean I really do think it's because I think like Deke and Sega was like, oh, we're not gonna play nice with Deke. We're planning on suing them, and that probably delayed things to a point where ABC was already on the fence about renewing it, and just went, it's easier to not. I'm sure all of the elements were involved because rarely is there. I think rarely in business is it just like this one small thing, especially if they think money can be made. And Sonic is still relatively big at that point. I know it's you died in 1995.
Thank you, David, for pointing that out.
Yeah. But so Ben Hurst is like, I guess that's it until 1997 when Deke is like, hey, we're making another Sonic cartoon, and he goes into the cattle call of writers, and it's Sonic Underground.
But didn't Sonic Christmas Blast would come out like 96?
Yeah, it did come out in 96. Ben Hurst wouldn't have had anything to do with that. He never had anything to do with AOSTH.
Well, it's weird though, because like, why is Sally in there? I've always wondered why Sally's in there.
I guess because she... I don't
And she doesn't.
I don't know if anyone's ever asked the writer.
It's like, why is she in there? Why doesn't she speak?
I don't. Well, because she's also.
Why does she have the pink design from the Heads or Tails Sapphire pilot? Answer me, David. You know these answers.
Well, the design. I mean, it's kind of the design from the pilot, even though she looks more like the Sally from season 1, but pink, as opposed to just the pink Sally from the pilot. I mean, the pilot was made before everything else, right? So, because it was Deke gets the license to the cartoon, they start immediately putting together a pilot. They are in contact with ABC. ABC immediately goes, yes. Robbie London says that they approved a full season, which never happens. But there is evidence in both like the naming convention, the internal naming convention of the show, and like trade publications that It was originally meant to just be a primetime special, like the pilot was a primetime special. Even though that's not what ended up happening.
I'm sorry, for Adventures of a Saturday AM.
For Sat AM.
Okay.
Because originally there was just Sat AM and there was only Sat AM, but it's the pilot. The pilot version is the only version of Sonic that exists until Deke goes, what if we tried to make more money? And the original plan was just to make a lot of the show, which is what they had done previously for The Real Ghostbusters.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of there are 2 seasons concurrently running. There are the episodes that air on Saturday morning, and then there are the episodes that air in syndication on weekdays. They did that for The Real Ghostbusters. Disney also did it for Darkwing Duck, where...
Oh, really? I did not know that about Darkwing Duck.
Yeah, that's why all the episodes, if you look at the air dates, they don't make any sense. Like, the pilot was not the first thing that aired. And, like, certain characters show up in episodes that aired before the episode that introduces them. They do not care about... because it's also airing...
They really didn't give a shit back in the 90s, did they?
No, and whenever they were like, oh, we're going to try and do this, like, we want an ongoing story, we want a serialized story, they were like, no, it's going to be purely episodic, like, or unless I got those 2 terms reversed, it doesn't matter. Look, either way, yeah, so Deke went, yes, that's what we're going to do. We're going to have Sonic air on Saturday mornings and syndicated. And they told ABC, and they went, we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that again. They had done it previously, because I think they definitely did that with Darkwing Duck.
Yeah,
I forget what...
Because Darkwing Duck predates both Sonic cartoons, doesn't it?
Yes.
Darkwing Duck was like 92, I think?
Yeah, it started in 92. And I forget if Real Ghostbusters, did that air on ABC or was that CBS? I don't remember.
I'm not 100% sure.
You would know.
CBS sounds more correct than ABC. That might be wrong.
Right. Let's see. Real Ghostbusters station. That's not helpful.
Okay, David.
So
now,
there's an episode.
Now should I be Tails and Knuckles playing Sonic 1?
You could be Knuckles.
Knuckles,
be Tails.
Okay,
why not? Right. What channel did this air on? You're not. Oh, it did air on ABC. Okay. So, right. So that's why they presented it, because they had done it previously. You know.
Was it not like successful? Is that why ABC were like, not again?
No, the reason was that they're like, we want Sonic exclusively. Like, if the show is airing on Saturday mornings but also on weekdays, then like it's not special. It's not just ours, and we're not interested in that. So if you're interested in that, we are not interested in Sonic. And that's when they were like, oh, because he always says like, oh, Saturday morning, that's the dream. Like when you are in animation, when you're in televised animation, you want a Saturday morning cartoon because you get paid more.
Nice.
But they didn't want to give up the idea of syndicated money. Oh.
They didn't
go in the ring.
They didn't go in the fucking ring. The game made me exit the level, the bastards.
That's strange.
So what did?
So
I'm sorry, just because in England, obviously, like we don't have any of those channels. What channel did Adventures air on? And so Saturday has ABC. What channel did Adventures air on?
It aired on whatever channel wanted it. That's how it worked.
Oh, so did Adventures go straight to syndication then?
Yes, it went straight to syndication. Where
Just like Star Trek: The Next Generation. Good job, you, Annabelle.
Yes, just like Star Trek. So then that's when they came up with the idea of what if the shows are different? What if they're tonally different? What if they're visually different? And then they reapproached ABC and went, okay, we have a compromise. We want to know if you're interested in this. And that's when they pitched SatAM as being like the darker, more mature, perhaps, because also we're in the era of Batman the Animated Series was started. Saturday morning cartoons are changing, and we can give you a show like that with Sonic, but then we can have a lighter, I guess, more kid-friendly version that airs in syndication, and it's a completely different show. And arguing, hey, this, like, it's not going to impact your Sonic because your Sonic is the premium Sonic. Your Sonic is a separate Sonic entirely. And if anything, AOSTH will make more people aware of the brand and more people will want to watch Sonic on ABC. And they agreed. They agreed to that. And
I'm surprised at that. Like, you would think if I was ABC, I'd be like, no, just make ours. Like, I in the end, I'm glad there's two. But if I was ABC, I'd be like, no, fuck that, man. Just make our show. No one else's.
Right. So if ABC had been okay with the initial idea of like what happened with the real Ghostbusters, that means we would have gotten, at the very least, 78 episodes of pilot SatAM, which is a very weird thing to think about. But
yeah, because I mean, pilot SatAM is basically what we know as SatAM and Adventures combined. It is like a weird hybrid of the two shows we ultimately got.
Right, because at that point, that's the only show that exists. So they take out the goofier elements, which is probably then why they redesigned Sally and Rotor, and made them look more right. The darker color palette. They wanted it to really look different. By the time season 2,
David, do you think that's also why in season 1 Tails is heavily downplayed in SatAM? Because Sonic and Tails was the crux of Adventures, and that's why, again, especially season 1, Tails is almost a non-character.
I mean that might have played a part. It does feel like the two groups didn't really interact with each other anymore. The creators of AOSTH,
which are also the couple who created the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. Bruce and Reed Shelley.
Yes, the father-son duo. They worked on Super Mario. They were the ones who worked with Len on the pitch of Sonic, the pitch of SatAM. I guess originally ABC wanted Len and his writing partner Chuck Melville, I forget, to make Sonic. Like that was a request from ABC to Deke, have them work on Sonic because we had a really good relationship when they were working on Ghostbusters. Unfortunately, Chuck Melville was suffering, like he had cancer at the time and was unable to work on the show, which is why then Bruce and Reed Shelley were brought on to work with Len. And Chuck Melville, he passed away before Sonic ever made it to air, so he was just not involved. But then when they split the show in two, when they went, okay, now it's SatAM and AOSTH, the Shelleys went off, focused on AOSTH, and Len was left in charge of SatAM at that point. So, and then I guess, he must have really enjoyed working with Ben and Pat, and that's why he said, okay, season 2, they're going to be involved, and it's just going to be the three of us working on this show. And,
I have never had this much fucking trouble on the first special stage in my life. Right. Playing this Tails just jinxed me. I've never had this much trouble before.
In the Genesis version, you don't even need to touch your controller. I know. And you'll fall into that room.
But from what I understand, that does not work anymore on this version.
That does not work here. No, it is one of the small little things in the retro engine versions.
You ruined Sonic 1.
Well, I part of it is because this rotates too smoothly. It's not meant to.
Good. It's too good.
Well, no, it's like the fact that it rotates in that like that staccato look. I don't know what other, like where it's the like the arms of a clock. Like there are people who have hacked Sonic 1 and are like, you can make this rotate a lot smoother if you wanted to, which then supports the idea that it was done on purpose. Like the fact that it's frame by frame like that is not a limitation of the hardware, but was a purposeful design decision. And if that's the case, then it should not be smooth in this at all. Sometimes they want to improve things that don't need to be improved because they're not actually issues. Yeah, it is one of the things that I wish was a little bit different here, but that's okay. Right. So Ben Hurst, right. So when Dee cleared things up and they made the Christmas special, they then got the rights to make a new season of it, or to make a season of Sonic. And for whatever reason, they were like, we're just going to make another show and also put in songs because then we'll get more money if there's songs.
Yep.
So during that cattle call...
That's because of Dee produced the later seasons of Alvin and the Chipmunks. So without Alvin and the Chipmunks, we wouldn't have Sonic Underground. Damn you, Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Right, so...
Well, when they had... It was my understanding that did Sega contract Deke to make a new Sonic cartoon to lead up to the American release of Sonic Adventure? Because I've always heard that, and if it's true, then why the fuck did they why did Sega approach Sonic Underground as a concept if you're trying to market Sonic Adventure? Because they're nothing like each other.
Right. Well, I guess at that point, I mean, with that same sort of logic, you can say, why did Sega ever approve Sat AM? Because it's not like the games. There's a bunch of characters that aren't in the games. They are in a setting that's not in the games.
I would say that it's because at that point the franchise was so new. Like I could, and also because you had things like Fleetway and all the different backstories and different regions. I understand if Sat AM had come out a few years later, I would agree with you. But I think because the franchise was that new, and Sega hadn't really locked down a definitive, this is what Sonic is, I can understand that. But by the time of 98, Sega knows, at this point, Sega themselves have produced the OVA. Sega knows what Sonic's world is. Even though the OVA isn't exactly one-to-one with the games, it's closer to the games than any of the Deke cartoons. That's why, even as a kid, I never understood why Sonic Underground was made. Why that specific show was made,
Right, because I don't think we know who was... I don't think we know who created Underground, do we?
No,
we don't know...
What I understand, I don't think Ben Hurst was in charge of Underground. He just wrote some scripts for it.
Well, no, he became the person in charge of Underground.
Oh, he did?
But he did not... Yes, during that meeting, during that the call for writers for Sonic, he went to it and he was like, "Huh, okay." He was invited, he went, and during the presentation, they showed some footage of an episode of Sat AM, but it wasn't one of his. It was a random one, and they were like, "Oh, we're trying to kind of go for this tone, but it's going to be a different show." And he was like, "Okay." And basically talked to someone who was above the showrunner and was like, I wouldn't do this and I wouldn't do that, and instead I would do these things with the show. And that person was like, oh wow, yeah, your ideas are better. And they fired the showrunner and replaced them with Ben. But at that point, the show was so far in development, they're like, well, you can't change it. It still has to be Sonic, Sonia, Manic, and you need the songs. but we'll let you change some things. We'll let you make it. So he affected the direction of the show, he affected the tone of the show, but he was stuck with the premise of the show. And but then he also hired Len to write a few scripts, sort of as a thank you, like, oh, you brought me in to write Sonic, now I'm going to bring you in to write Sonic. But it wasn't the Sonic he wanted to write, even if there were things borrowed from Sad AM.
I'm going to be honest, at that point, if it was a thing where like you can't change the premise, I would have just let the original showrunner stay in charge if I was Ben. I'd be like, if I'm still stuck with this terrible premise, peace out. You know, like, I don't want to work on this bad show.
Well, I mean,
because it's not a...
I guess it's the difference between being employed and not being employed.
Fair. But it's just like, even knowing like Ben Hurst is in charge, like, regardless of the premise that no one liked, I still don't think Underground is like a well written show. I still think it is the most boring of all three of the big shows to watch.
It can be. I mean, I don't revisit Underground a lot. It's there's definitely there's a couple interesting ideas, and
Knuckles
Knuckles is in it. Yeah. Knuckles is there, and that other echidna is there.
His grandfather. I always thought it was weird. Like, I'm not sure maybe if it was just because of the siblings, but it is weird that, again, especially a Sonic cartoon that was, presumably created and released in 97, 98, where Tails does not appear at all. That to me is still the strangest thing about. I mean, I get maybe not having to be a main character, but the fact that he doesn't even appear in like one episode is very strange to me.
Yeah, no, it is a little strange that Tails is. I don't know why. See, that's why I'd like to know. I don't even know if you've ever seen the series Bible to Underground. I've never seen it. I don't know if it's out there.
No, I know the series Bible for SATM is out, and then where they say Tails is portrayed as a baby with twin toy pistols and speaks in a southern accent. Which, thank Christ, they did not go in that direction for the show.
Yeah, no, there's definitely some changes between the original, because even the original series Bible for SATAM, it references the Kintobor origin in a sense, like, oh, I became evil because of a rotten egg,
Oh,
that's also why, right? But see, that's also why Sega is very okay. Even though there wasn't as much to work with involving Sonic, there was still an origin that existed, which was the Dr. Kintobor storyline that was developed in the United States. That is not a UK thing. That is a Sega of America thing. And so for them, for Deke to get the license and say, we aren't using that as the origin, and in fact, we reject it as the origin. I guess Sega was really okay, I guess that's fine. Sega of America was more interested in just having things out there, right? They're more interested in propagating the brand, making sure that there are cartoons, making sure that there are comics, making sure that Sonic is anywhere and everywhere it possibly can be, and how they just want to make sure that Sonic, is still the hedgehog with an attitude and etc. They just want to make sure he acts a certain way, and everything else is just window dressing. While Sega of Europe, I guess, is very insistent, this is the origin to Fleetway. They hand them...
because that story, that the Kintobor backstory pops up so often. I mean, Kintobor himself becomes a separate character from Robotnik at one point.
Right. They went, this is the origin, you have to stick to it. And also, we're you can't use any elements from SATAM or the cartoons.
Yeah, because I
said outright.
I think Nigel Kitchener said originally he was just going to use Sniveling as Robotnik's lackey.
Yeah.
But then when he found that wasn't allowed, that's when he invented Primer.
Right. You are Tails. You can just fly.
I did that. David, I'm trying to play the game the way Yuji Naka intended. I thought you'd prefer that.
Well, if Yuji Naka, then you wouldn't be playing his Tails, would you? If you're gonna play this the way Yuji Naka intended, you would be playing it on a Japanese Mega Drive, and you would give him money for a Ferrari while you're doing it.
Was he obsessed with Ferraris back then? What that came later?
Right. No, I mean, he always liked fast things, but his love for Ferraris, that was only because he thought he was dying.
Yeah.
And he bought one.
Which, you know what? Good for him. If I thought I was dying, yeah, why not? Go for it.
Right. Oh, man. But can you imagine if he really was dying? That would be strange.
So this is
like Sonic.
So this might be a morbid question, but do you think that was around the time of what, Knights or like SA1 era?
Yeah, it was the SA1 era.
Do you think? And obviously, I'm glad. I know I joke around. I'm glad he did. We're all glad he didn't die. If he had, do you think his legacy would he would be looked at a lot more fondly than he kind of? Not saying he isn't, but obviously there's things that happen afterwards that don't portray.
Right, I know they're
portray me in the best of lights.
Right, I know there are a lot of people who are like, "Oh, he's an asshole," or, I mean, like. All right, so we did a little insider trading, whatever.
Who hasn't done that?
Well, I mean, to be fair, there's a lot of people who do that seem to have gotten away with it. But yeah, I mean, I think, yes, if Yuji Naka had died after Sonic Adventure came out, we would all be sitting around going, "Oh man, what would Sonic be like if he was still alive?" That he would be looked at. Because you would just be left with the question, what would have happened next? It wouldn't have been like, oh well, actually he'd work on some Sonic games begrudgingly, and he'd then leave and make Ivy the Kiwi, and then we wouldn't know any of those things.
Nope.
So, but I would much rather every weird idea, just get it out there, even if it doesn't
Billy
work.
Hatcher, if Yuji Naka had died then, would Billy Hatcher be a thing?
I think so. I don't think Naka had much to do with Billy Hatcher, right? Although it's possible that maybe it wouldn't have happened.
20 minutes, turned it off, and never looked back. So I don't know too much about Billy Hatcher.
Right. I mean, it is possible it might not have happened because I think Naka was also instrumental in being like, hey, look at what Sonic Team has done for the company. Look at what Sonic has done for the company. And now, we need bigger budgets and the flexibility to do things. And also when, Sega split off all of its development teams into, their own independent subsidiaries, Naka had a lot of influence. So if something had happened to him, maybe Sonic Team wouldn't have stuck together as a whole and Sonic would have just existed. I don't know. I'm just thinking about, the games that he directly worked on, but I think that's already short-sighted the way I'm thinking about it. Yeah, so I think Naka should go back to Sega.
At this point, do you think that they would welcome him back if he wanted to?
No, I don't think so. I think Sega of Japan, well, at least Sega of Japan would be like, no. But if Sega of America went, yeah, let's bring back Naka, there would immediately be clashes, because even if Sega of America has the leeway to hire Naka again, I don't know if Sega of Japan would be so kind to.
But doesn't Iizuka? He works at Sega of America now. So do you think? Because I know, isn't it a thing where him and Oshima don't get on? Isn't that a thing?
Oh, Naka and Oshima. Yeah, Naka and Oshima. So.
But
I just don't.
Do you think Iizuka, specifically him, would be open to Naka returning?
It's hard to say because I don't know what Iizuka's relationship with Naka is anymore. They were friendly enough at one point, but who knows? I would not be surprised if Naka burned every bridge.
Every bridge.
every bridge he ever had. What does he do now? I guess he just stays home.
Speaking of burning bridges, back to Ben Hurst and Ken Benders.
Oh right, yeah. So Ben Hurst was like, so he worked on Underground, and that came and went, 40 episodes, and then that's when he was like, oh, maybe I can do something. Maybe I can get season 3 of Sad AM off the ground. You know, he's initially thinking syndication. He's willing to settle for like a direct-to-video movie. He's certainly not immediately going. Was
that a big thing back then? I know Disney did it, but outside of like Disney, were straight-to-video movies that big of a thing back then?
I think, yeah, there were a lot where either it was like straight-to-video or it would air on some random channel, perhaps in syndication, and it was definitely made for direct-to-video. There were a lot of those things. Like Timmy the Tooth. Do you remember Timmy the Tooth?
No, I can't say I don't remember what the fuck. No, I don't think I've ever heard that before.
Well, it's a puppet show. It's about this tooth named Timmy, and he teaches you good hygiene for your teeth.
As you do.
As you do. I mean, Barney the Dinosaur started as a direct-to-video series before it became a PBS show.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, I didn't know that. That's cool. Okay.
Yeah. So like it was definitely a thing. Like, okay. Oh, yeah, and I think Sonic probably had the clout where you could say, hey, you know, coming direct to video, Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
The you know, they probably would have just called it Sonic the Movie or Sonic Return to Robo Shop.
Which is
whatever it was.
Which is what happened with the OVA. Sonic the Movie, you know.
It did become right. So if, oh man, would there have been two things called Sonic the Movie? Would have confused everyone. Or maybe they wouldn't have called the OVA Sonic the Movie. Who knows? I don't know. But either way, yeah, Ben Hurst was like, yeah, I want to do this. You hit the goal. And he wanted...
What would I do, David, without you telling me what I just done 5 seconds previously? Thank God you're here.
Right, so right. The whole thing is that he was trying to figure out a way to bring back Sad AM, and initially, I think right. Ken Penders and Ben Hurst, I believe, briefly met at a Comic-Con, and it was a very like sort of cordial. Hey, yeah, we both work.
I work on Sonic. That's cool.
Right, we both work on Sonic, and initially Ken had suggested to Ben Hurst the idea of finishing, of working on the Archie book. It was like, oh, you know, it'd be great, like, you could finish the show the way you wanted to, like in a special or something. And Ben was interested in the idea. He was like, that sounds like a good idea, why not? Like, you have the license and I can write it. Ken says that Ben was open to having the continuity mesh, like, oh, that it would mesh with the Archie continuity, but that is probably Ben just going, yeah, I'll make it work with the comic, before realizing the comic had drastically changed in between, like what the show was, and you know, but he was interested in the idea, and according to Ken, the reason it didn't happen was Ben, when Ben found out how much he'd get paid per page, he was like, no, what are you talking about? Like he thought the amount was so laughable that he said no.
Well, I mean,
and that's why.
That doesn't make sense. I would assume TV writers get paid a shitload more than comic book writers. So yeah, that kind of checks out.
Right. I mean, even Ken has been like, oh, you know, when I left Archie, I started doing storyboards for King of the Hill, and I got paid a lot more.
But he loves he did it for 2 episodes, and he has not shut the fuck up about working on King of the Hill for like 20 years.
He worked on it. He worked in King of the Hill.
He did for 2 episodes, but the way he talks about it, you think he made the entire show.
Oh, But yeah, I mean, there's still at least a source of comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if it was only for, you know, a very brief amount of time in doing storyboards. But yeah. So Ben was not interested, and he said no. But Ben was still wanting to make more Sonic. So after Underground was done and dusted, and it was painfully clear, I guess at that point, that they weren't going to make any more, he did have a meeting with Robbie London and was like, what can I do to make more, to get this off the ground? And he was like, if you really want to get it off the ground, it would probably have to be it would have to be syndicated. We'd have to get Sega on board, but you also have to get like networks on board. If you can convince local TV stations that there's an audience for more Sonic, then it would be a lot easier to, because there's money to be made. It'll be a lot easier to get this going. At that point, Deke must have still had access to the license, or thought that they could definitely renew it at that point. So they that's when Ben went online and wanted to, get people to write letters to local TV stations, demand Sonic the Hedgehog air on the station, and then if Sonic's in demand on syndication again, then there would be demand for new content, new episodes, new shows. But they were also playing with the idea of making could a movie be made? It was right. The way Ben tells it is that he got the contact information for somebody who worked at Sega of America, either in licensing or an executive or something along those lines. And he got in contact with that person and said, hey, wouldn't it be great if we, they had a cordial conversation and they were going to talk more. And he was like, yeah, we're going to see what happens here. And then he got a mysterious phone call from Ken Penders, who was like, I heard you were talking to a Sega exec, and was like, hey, let's work on this together. And then Ben told Ken his idea, which was, okay, what if, he wanted Sega of America to hire him to interview to talk to the people who were working on Sonic video games, and basically being like, I guess, what is Sonic? The idea was to, through these shared conversations, to be like, this is what I would like to do on a show. What is it that you would like to do in a game? And to kind of have a back and forth where, they would all kind of work on Sonic together and all come up with ideas. And so ideas for the show could enter the games, and ideas for the games could enter the show, and sort of this back and forth world, which feels very idealistic to me, the way that he described it.
Especially back then. Maybe now that could work.
Back then, right?
Seeing that happen.
So
back then, that never would have worked.
Right. So he says that he had the conversation with the executive. He had a conversation with Ken, and then the exec called Ben back and said, "Hey, now listen. We pay people to develop, or we don't pay people to develop ideas for Sonic. You would." You pay us for the license. It's not basically telling him off and hung up. And the way that Ben told it, it's always been, oh, okay, so this means that Ken Penders stabbed Ben Hurst in the back.
Yeah.
Because when Ben told the story, he's like, oh, and then later I found out that Ken had his own ideas for a Sonic movie. So it sounded like Ken Penders sabotaged Ben Hurst so that Ken Penders could work on his Sonic movie without Ben. And
has Penders ever commented on that? On Ben's version of events?
He's commented on it in some ways. He's talked about it basically he he did talk about how he got in contact, him and Ben did talk to each other. He talked about he wanted to do the comic, and then he wanted to work on a movie, and I was willing to work on him with it, and I thought that'd be great, but I was confused. He said he was confused by the way that Ben Hurst was going about things, because he figured that Ben would have connections in the entertainment industry that he didn't have. And God, all right, I'm trying to. No, okay, that's Ben. That's Ken. I'm trying to like remember vaguely. I know, because I know that Ken Penders has. He talked about it on his message board. Jeez. Where is it? I know it's here somewhere. I've gone. Okay. I'm just going to it. I'm trying to remember what Ken said, but I can't, like, just quote him.
I did nothing wrong. I am Ken Penders.
Well, he... Ben. Ken Ben. Right, I mean... For the record, this will be the only time I address this. Ben Hurst and I initially met at the San Diego Comic-Con one time back during the 90s, around the time Underground had finished production. Blah, 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 blah. That's about the comic. This led in turn to Ben and I discussing doing a Sonic animated project with a Hollywood studio. Since I didn't know anyone in Hollywood at the time, I thought it was only right to take the reins to pitch the project. What I discovered was that Ben thought Sega would be willing to fund such a project. Even then, with my lack of any Hollywood experience, I knew that approach would be a non-starter, and I was never able to shake Ben's belief that Sega would be willing to pay us to do the project. And then consequently, when I was approached by noted animation producer/director Larry Houston, who was responsible for guiding Fox TV's X-Men series during its first 5 seasons, about working on a Sonic project, this led to a misunderstanding with Ben. Ben understandably wanted to be paid for whatever work he did, but the problem was he didn't seem to be aware how the animation industry was evolving at the time, which forced a number of writers and artists who once had steady work to either settle for much less or get out of the business altogether. So I don't think that Ken Penders stabbed Ben Hurst in the back. I do think that Ken Penders...
Do you take Penders' word? Because really... At that point, Ben, who had worked in the animation industry, would have a better grasp. You would assume he would have an actual better grasp of the industry than Penders did, because at that point he had just done comic books. So do you take Penders at face value with his assessment there?
Well, I mean, I think what it is because like when Ben describes it, the way Ben described it, I did consult with Deke to see if there was a way to generate some... Okay, I said all that, blah, blah, blah. The next day, I got a call from Ken Penders, who had been alerted by his contact in their office, in Sega of America's office, that I was interested in getting a Sonic movie going. I generously offered to include him in the effort and told him my strategy: get Sega to become invested in the idea by hiring us to interview their creative game designers, execs, etc., and see if we could develop a storyline that would fulfill the 3rd season and simultaneously give them creative ideas to develop new games. A win-win situation.
I will say... I do agree with Ken's assessment that if Ben's ultimate plan was to have Sega of America pay him to interview Sega staff members, that is insane. Like that would never have happened.
No. So when he says, then I called Sega back, but I was shocked when the exec lit into me, telling me people pay us to develop Sonic product, we don't pay them, and she hung up on me. Obviously, Penders had related my strategy to them in a less than flattering way.
Which is a dick
Thanks for the knife, Ken.
Behalf, yeah.
You think Ken probably did talk in such a way, like whoever he was talking to. But also, I don't think Ken had as much influence with everything like Sega was doing at the time. There are chat logs that exist of Penders, where he's talking about a Sonic movie being made, and he's like, me and Ben Hurst are working on it. Ben is working on the script right now. And then in a follow-up interview, he's like, that movie is now in development hell. And then, and I mean, there's also, at some point...
Well, I mean, like this.
Right, so this is all happening in 2000.
To me,
I don't think
that tracks. That tracks with Penders, with the Suit Chronicles for like a decade. He was talking about how that thing was in development and it probably wasn't for the longest time. So him saying the movie was, yeah, we're totally working on it, that to me tracks with Pender's public persona.
Yeah. So I do think. I mean, I just have a hard time believing that if Ben Hurst sat down and had a meeting at Sega of America and he told them, I want to make season 3, you're going to pay me to make it, and you're going to pay me to interview the people working on Sonic so that we can all come to a great understanding, and like I can develop this show and they can take things from it and use it for the game. I feel like they would have said no.
Yeah.
They would have said, basically, if you're looking to license this, you pay us a fee because we own it.
Yeah.
And you to make it because somebody is willing to make it by paying us. And then they get revenue and we share in that revenue, and that's how that works. So even if Ken talked to whoever and said whatever, and we don't know what Ken said or what his motives were at the time, he definitely didn't do it to kill the project so he could lead it. Because whatever was going on with the Larry Houston stuff, that would have been a couple years after the fact. This was in 2000.
Yeah, when was Sonic Armageddon?
Sonic Armageddon, I mean, what I don't know is when that footage was shot. You know, when the pointed outside his house.
That terrible trailer. Yeah, that's such a weird fucking trailer.
Right. I mean, that trailer is not meant for anyone except someone in a meeting. That was never meant to air or.
I know, but even for like a investor meeting, it's still embarrassingly bad. Like it's not a good. No matter what way you look at it, that trailer is embarrassing. You know.
Right. Well, he right, but I mean, his son and his niece. Right, it's the same kids
from Sonic Live.
It's the same kids from Sonic Live, but that means that would have been filmed. Like that footage, that random footage, was filmed way before Ken Penders talked to Ben Hurst the first time. So I don't know what it's for, unless he was just like being a dad and was outside filming his kids. Or his kid playing Sonic in a very specific way.
We know for Sonic Live he had reference footage, so I imagine it's probably just he probably just filmed a bunch of shit for Sonic Live and he just cobbled something together years later to make the trailer.
Oh yeah. Okay, I mean that makes sense. Right. So but that trailer would have been made 2002 I think so. It was a couple years after everything happened with Ben Hurst, because, all right, Larry Houston, whatever. He was wanting to produce the Sonic movie. He wanted to get it off the ground, but the reason it didn't happen the first time around is because of Sonic X. Sonic X. Sega Japan was like, we're all in on Sonic X. We are not going to approve a movie which has a different interpretation of Sonic because it's going to cause brand confusion. We're all in on this one thing right now, and that's this cartoon. And so they went, oh, okay, I guess that's not happening. And so it was shelved away for a few years until what's his face? Oh god, who was that guy? He died. There was a guy who worked at Sega of America with licensing, and he was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna, like, he got back in contact with Ken and was like, hey, you had an idea for a Sonic movie, right? Do you still got that rattling around?
Yes,
Sega was right. So Sega was sort of, I think the idea was that they definitely wanted a Sonic movie in time for Sonic's 20th anniversary, and so we were still like a good 4 years before that was happening. And so Ken got in contact. They had some meetings, and this was also coincidentally at the same time when Richard Kuda was trying to make a Sonic the Hedgehog
Oh my god,
movie.
yes, I remember that. The fear in your eyes
because
indicates weakness, and the family quote Charles Darwin.
Right, because the thing with Richard Kuda is that he just got in contact with Sega and said, "Hey, what would I need to do to make a Sonic movie?" And he got a letter back and was like, "Well, you just have to."
Fair play. He reached out, like fair play to Kuda.
Right. He reached out. Kuda had put those things up on online where he talked to the same guy. Who once again, I can't remember his name. He reached out and was like, "Hey, you want to, like, how would I make a Sonic movie? Like, what would I need to do?" And he's like, "Well, if you were really interested in it, you would have to, get in contact with the studio. You would need to get backing. You would need to do this, that, and the other thing. You would have to do all of these things." And Mr. Kuda went, "Okay, yeah, sure." And then somehow got a way to have a meeting with Universal Studios of all places.
Is that actually?
And was like,
I always heard he said that, but it never happened. So he actually had an interview with Universal.
I think he did. I think what happened with Kuda is that he got in contact with Sega, and they said, "Well, if you want your studio or whatever to make a Sonic movie, you would have to get the backing of, if you want your production company to make a Sonic movie, you need to get the backing of a studio." And I think he took that as, I'm working with Sega, and contacted Universal and said, I've gotten this pre-approval from Sega to make a Sonic movie. Would you be interested in funding it? And Universal being like, "Oh, you've talked to Sega? Sure, come on in, we'll have a meeting." And that's how things happen. I think he just sort of stumbled his way into it. And each side thought the other had already agreed to something.
How far did Kuda's
the Kuda one didn't get very far. I mean, it got to a point, Kuda was also trying to make a SatAM movie, right? That was the idea. He's making a SatAM movie. Ken Penders is making a SatAM movie. And this guy, what was his name? Was it Richard Leffler?
Is Ben Hurst still alive at this point?
Ben Hurst is still alive. Ben Hurst dies in 2010.
Okay, but
Ben
at
Hurst,
this point, after the Sega executive chews him out, at that point, does Ben Hurst just kind of wash his hands of everything and move on?
He does for a while. In 2000, that happens. Ken Penders said on August 30th that the film version of Sonic was in development hell. Right. Ken said, see, I do get a little confused about the dates and the times. On March 8th, 2000, because I wrote this stuff down. On March 8th of the year 2000, Ken said a third season of SatAM was in the early stages of development. Also said that it would include elements of the Archie comics, which I don't think it would have. Then he said on June 1st that the show had evolved into a movie. So presumably he had continued to talk to Ben Hurst for a couple months. And then on August 30th of that year, he said that the movie was now in development hell. So at that point, Ben had gotten the call and knew it wasn't happening. And so Ben told this story on Usenet, and then in 2005 he had an interview at at Sage at the Sonic Amateur Games Expo, where he mentions that he's been working on it in his own time.
Wait, I'm sorry. Is this Penders or Hurst at this point?
This is Hurst. So Hurst in 2005, he's like, "I've been thinking about it again." We found out after he died that Ben Hurst had been working on and off on some ideas and an outline that he never finished, and he sent elements of that to Sonic, who ran Fans United for SatAM. Right. So she knew that he was still working on it, even though he wasn't getting paid for it. It's not like there was anything in sight. He was just like, "I want to get this all out of my head and put it down on paper." And in 2005, he said he had an idea for bringing it back. And but he didn't get into any details. And the following year, in 2006, he said it didn't work. So he never said what it was, and he didn't say why it didn't work.
Has his treatment ever been publicly released?
Just the stuff that Sonic had. Anything that he may have worked on privately and didn't share with her. That stuff is presumably lost to time.
What was part of his piss that was shared with Sonic then? Was it like a flat line, or was it just like random ideas he had?
Just sort of it was random ideas. It was mostly about what he wanted to do with Nicole. The idea that Nicole wasn't just... Well, no. He wanted Nicole to actually have been a invention of Robotnik's. That Sally, as a small child, was friends with someone who was named Nicole. Robotnik kidnapped that small child and put her brain into a computer satellite that would power the handheld computer.
That's dark. I like that. I like that.
Right.
Idea.
Right. But that Robotnik wouldn't have realized that the technology he invented was actually so sophisticated that Nicole immediately broke free of the programming that Robotnik wanted, and that she realized that she could essentially do anything she wanted, Nicole. And then decided that the power was so great and she would be so tempted to either just rule the planet or take away everyone's free will to ensure peace, that it was just like, I should not be the one in charge of this. Comes to that conclusion and makes Robotnik forget that Nicole exists and that he created her. And then also makes herself forget that she was a Mobian. And gifts herself to Sally as like the last thing, like, oh, I'm going to give myself to my friend. And Sally coincidentally names the handheld computer Nicole in honor of her friend who has gone missing. And we would find out that Snively would find one of the Nicole handheld prototypes in season 3, and that it would get Nicole, whose consciousness is in a satellite, I guess she would do things to make sure that Robotnik would never be able to remember that she existed. And when Snively finds the handheld, the other handheld prototype, she immediately goes into protection mode and has it destroyed. But then Snively is like, okay, why is this thing now just molten slag? What's going on here? What did you do? And so he did say that he hadn't decided how it would end. Would it I think he said would it end with Nicole dying? Would she become a Mobian again? He hadn't finished those ideas. But he also said, he wanted to introduce a new love interest that would go in between Sonic and Sally. He wanted
for Sonic or Sally?
For Sally,
John
somebody would.
Jeff, was it?
Right, it was John St. No, it would not have been John St. John. And so the Freedom Fighters were now Freedom Builders, and
in terms of Satya,
and they were just working to restore.
But because in terms of just Satya, Antoine is this. I mean, I know he never gets that far, but he is part of the love triangle. So would it be a love square? Because you would still
right. Well, I guess because
Sally.
Right. Well, Sally was never really interested in Antoine, not really.
Yeah.
So I think the idea was here's someone that Sally is interested in. And now that's suddenly different because Sonic, he might get jealous of Antoine, but he doesn't really think that Sally's going to go for him. But this is someone that Sally might actually be interested in. Right. So there were just other elements of Sonic and Nicole would get closer, that Tails would become a more full-fledged freedom fighter, or I guess builder, because they were going to have a different name. at some point, I think Snively was supposed to defect, right? Because Nagus would be introduced as like, oh, now he's the villain, and he's got the king, and he's got Robotnik, and Snively is like on the run, and they were he had ideas, but we never knew how it was supposed to end. We didn't know all the details, and so even his ideas, I think, slowly transformed over time. You can always play Sonic too, you know. Right, so it was just sort of like, yeah, like Nagus was going to, because Ben Hurst wanted Nagus to be in season 3, even though the director of season 2 threw those eyes in and he didn't think they were Nagus. He thought those eyes were going to be Knuckles. Right. It is one of those things where, like, well, the director wasn't the writer, so if Ben Hurst said I wanted it to be Nagus, it probably would have been Nagus unless Sega demanded that it be Knuckles. Who knows? But you're right. So there are a lot of things that are out there, but there's also things that aren't out there, and I would not be surprised if there were things that he wrote on his personal computer that were never shared. Yeah. Because that stuff, it either went to a random family member or it went to his writing partner. And that was back in 2010, so that's 16 years. Who knows what happened to any of that stuff?
We don't know where. Is Len Jensen still around?
I don't know. He's sort of gone off the map. He would be very old, but I've never seen a death announcement for him. So he might be alive? I don't know. I mean, it's possible that he who knows? The last time that you got squashed. I think he had been interviewed when The Real Ghostbusters was released on DVD. I think someone got a hold of him and interviewed him for those, but they weren't asking him about Sonic.
But even then, that was 10 years ago. Like, yeah.
I mean, that was a long time ago. I think that'd be more than 10 years ago. So I don't know. I don't know what the current status. I've never. It would be nice to know. I'd like to know where he is. I'd like to ask him questions about Sonic. Because he made a Sonic. He made Sonic. He made Sad AM. Right. So, but yeah. So the whole thing with Ken and Ben, I do feel like there's a truth hiding somewhere in the middle. I don't think Ken was purposely trying to sabotage Ben Hurst or season 3 or the Sonic movie. I do think he wanted to be involved no matter what. And what happened later, where he did pitch a Sonic movie twice, that had nothing to do. That was way after the fact. Ken did not have a diabolical plan to spoil it so he could make a movie. There was no reason for him to, because if he's sitting here going, oh, I feel like Ben's ideas didn't make sense, like Sega paying us to make a movie, Ken didn't have money to license the development of a Sonic movie. There was no other recourse for him at the time. It was only later, when he became friends with Larry Houston, that allowed him to become involved. And yeah, so he was working on that pitch again for the 20th anniversary, and it was the same people, and like I said, it was the same time that Richard Kuda was trying to get a movie off the ground. But the person they were in contact with, Leffler, I think his last name was, he died. Yeah, and when he died, everything ended.
So what, did Kuta do his Kickstarter before or after that?
He did his Kickstarter after that. He did. It was way after, because Kuda says that he had a meeting, and it was supposed to be a meeting between, it was him, Universal, and Sega, and they were like, "Okay, we're pitching this movie," and Sega was like, "We have no idea what you're talking about." And he went, "What do you mean you don't know what we're talking about?" And so he found out that Richard Leffler's, is that his name, replacement, did not know who Richard Kuda was at all. And was like, he's like, but I've been talking to this guy, and he's like, I have no record here that you've been working with Sega. I have no record that you've been, planning these things out. I don't know who you are. And I think Sega Japan was like, oh, we're in talks with someone else to make a Sonic movie. Goodbye. And Ken even was like, once Richard Leffler died, because he did just, he passed away. It basically went, okay, we're not interested in talking to you either. Like, we're going to go in a different direction. And of course, a movie didn't happen. A movie didn't happen for a very long time. It wasn't until, but yeah, whatever.
And David and I saw it together.
We did see it together. Yeah, we drove down to Ohio. We saw it at the crack of midnight.
It was very late when we saw it.
It was very late. Well, it might have been before midnight. I forget exactly when it was, but it was late. Yeah, we did see Sonic, and I remember there was I wanted to steal. I think there was a soda fountain thing. I wanted it was Sonic in it.
It was icy. It was an icy.
Oh, it was the icy.
It was
yes.
cardboard on the icy machine. You were like, yeah, I want that.
I'm gonna steal it. Yeah, I wanted to steal it.
I wanted to steal the big cardboard cutout, but it wouldn't have fit in my car, so we didn't even try.
Right. Yeah. Oh man, there's some good promotional stuff going on there. Once they figured out what Sonic should look like.
Yeah, I know, right?
Right. So yes, though the film pitch related to that one fan film. Which fan film? Just looking in the chat. Because there's been a lot of fan films, but the Richard Kuda pitch did become that animated fan film, which there was only 30 seconds of animation ever done. But all of the the one where Jaleel voices Sonic, that's separate. That's
the only fan film that actually came. I don't think it's a very good movie, but it came out. So I give props to Eddie LeBron for that. He actually released his film.
Yes, Eddie LeBron. It did come out, even though it confused the heck out of me. I know I reviewed it, and at the time I wasn't very kind about it, but that was many years ago.
Well, again, don't you remember there was one point you were at my house? It was like 3 a.m. and we
watched it.
And we just were like, it's like I give full props to Eddie LeBron for getting that thing made. Full props to him, but it's not very good. The story makes it's convoluted. It doesn't make any sense. It tries to act as a prequel to Sonic 1, but it doesn't work. It's just not very good.
Right, Knuckles has fingers at the end.
Oh my god!
Well, right, so before Boom. It was it was such a weird, because also it's a little distracting when you're like, oh, there's the AVGN and there's the Nostalgia Critic.
The Nostalgia Critic's in there, then why?
Right, Stuttering Craig's in that movie.
Oh god, that's.
Yeah. It feels like, oh, what if Hollywood made a Sonic movie?
Well,
and
that's why Kuda said he made that with the intention of kind of like doing what Ken did, of getting a meeting with Sega. And from my understanding, I know he said he had planned to do that. I have no idea if he actually got an interview. Even though obviously it didn't go anywhere. But
no.
Yeah, it's just.
It didn't. Yeah. Everyone really wanted to make a Sonic movie, and then it's funny that it just sort of. I mean, they were trying to make a Sonic movie almost from the very beginning.
Yep.
All through the 90s. Right, because there's the initial pitch where Sonic is a human teen.
Yep.
There's the second pitch, Wonders of the World, where he's in the video game. Yeah. Then you get like Ken Pender's, the Sonic Armageddon, the possibility of a Sad AM movie, Sonic X. I remember people being like, "Oh, like there were rumors." I don't know if it they ever meant anything. I think there were rumors of like, oh, Sonic X would get a quote unquote movie, just like many anime shows would get movies. New museum. You haven't unlocked the entire museum?
Well, no, see, the first time playing the Steam version on the stream, I completely 100% of the PS5 version, because that's where I play my games. But yeah, I have. What do I have?
Right, so you're playing this on Steam. You're not playing it on. Well, why do you have it on Steam as well? Why would you do that?
Because it was cheap and it's easier for me to stream if I'm playing them off Steam, and I wanted to try it out with the UltraFix mod.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, right. How was that mod? I think I have UltraFix on. I forget. The spinning tops are still off though. That is the biggest sin for me in this game, is that in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, the spinning tops or Marble Garden are wrong. They were wrong when it first came out. And they were wrong with now. Plus. They're so right. They have a very specific feel and function, and what are you doing? Cover art. Look at that. Who drew it? Won't tell you.
Oh yeah, this is it. Again, it's don't really. These aren't as detailed as they should be, or as like the Cowabunga collection extra features are.
Right. It's
So I love the fact that we went on this big detour about all the stuff, all the Panda stuff with the movies, and we didn't get a chance to go back to the books that Ken is releasing now, because that's where we left off. Because unfortunately, my daughter has homework to do. David, my friend, would you be able to come back next week? And I will play as Knuckles, and we will finish talking. We will finish talking about the Penda's books, and we will finally talk about our thoughts on this game.
On the original Sonic the Hedgehog.
On the original Sonic the Hedgehog. Is that something you are okay with coming back with next week, my friend?
I think so. I think so.
This is gonna end up just being every single Tuesday. We never get round to talking about the game. I just keep playing Sonic 1 every Tuesday, and we keep going on more and more tangents about other stuff.
That's right. That's how it is. Oh man, right. This
is why I love talking to you, man. Because again, I was like, we'll get straight into Pendas, and then it's my fault because I started talking about the movies. But again, we spent almost 2 hours talking about all the Sonic movies that were never meant to be.
So much, right? We could talk about. I mean, we can talk about all sorts of things. Hey, did you know that a bunch of Beach Boys tracks were leaked online that had never been released before?
I will just say this right here and now. You have an open invitation for every single Tuesday at 6.
For every single
Tuesday at 6. If you want to come on stream and we can talk about complete bullshit, you are always welcome, my friend. I love talking with you about anything and everything.
Well, I will keep that in mind.
Right.
But yes.
If we could lock in next, so we could fucking finish Sonic 1 and talk about.
So we could finish right.
Okay. But yeah, we will be back. We will be back Tuesday. I will be back either tomorrow or Thursday, and I will either play some more Pokemon or I will do a Sonic Lego set. But I want to thank everyone for watching. I want to thank David for coming in with all of the knowledge and expertise that he always does. And we will see you again next week.
Thanks.